Hello and welcome to another video, and today I thought it would be fun to take a look at what I've hacked on my Super Nintendo Classic Edition. So as you know, the Hack Chi version 2.1 is out, and it allows you to put Super Nintendo games on it. The program is actually a lot better than when I used it earlier this year to hack my NES Classic, and I've put a multitude of games on here, so I thought it would be fun to take a look at it. Now, I'm going to give you a full disclosure for this video. I'm not going to be playing any sound of any of these games. The reason for that is because I don't want to get hit with copyright notices, especially on Nintendo stuff lately. I've seen a lot of copyright notices coming up with not just my channel, but other fellow YouTubers' channels, and I don't want to fall into that category with this video, so there won't be any sound. Rest assured, the sound works. It sounds great for every game that I've tested on this thus far. I'm going to show you everything I've put on the machine in this video. I will go through a couple games. I'm not going to sit here and play every game for 5 or 10 minutes, but I will show you some of the ones that are more special to me maybe. I'm also not done hacking this thing yet. I'm still in the process of figuring out other games I want to put on there. Maybe some of the stuff I put on there I'm not really a huge fan of and I want to take it off. This is just round one, if you will, of what's on my Super Nintendo NES Classic. Anyways, let's come take a look at what I've done with my Super Nintendo. Alright, so we're sitting down here with my Super Nintendo Classic Edition that has been hacked. Now, this is very similar to the NES Classic Edition in terms of hacking it. You get different folders, and it kind of puts them in alphabetical order. You also have a folder for the original 21 games. I didn't take any of those off because I think they all deserve a spot on the machine. So up here, you can still do all the display stuff, pixel perfect, all that kind of stuff actually works for the emulated games, which is pretty cool. I still use the grid background overlay. I did see you can put custom overlays on here. That's something I might look into at a later time. So we're going to go ahead and start with the first category here. Now, I'm not going to obviously click every single one of these games or anything like that, but we're just going to kind of go through, see what's on here and everything, and go from there. So I put on the 7th Saga, Axlay, Batman Forever, Batman Returns, Blackthorn, a personal favorite of mine, Brain Lord, Bram Stoker's Dracula, Breath of Fire 1, Breath of Fire 2, Bust-A-Move, Castlevania Dracula X. This is actually the first game we're going to jump in so I can show you how the emulation works. As I've said, it works incredibly well. Everything looks very sharp and crisp. All the sound is intact. As I said before, this video is not going to have any of the Nintendo sound to avoid copyright issues. But as you trust me when I tell you the sound works, and it sounds just as good as you remember. Now, a funny story I'll tell you guys about Dracula X. So Dracula X should be in my game collection. It should be one of the games that I have in my collection of... It should be a crown jewel of my collection, if we're being honest. And unfortunately, I got kind of screwed on it. So what happened was when GameStop, while I was still working at GameStop, they started their whole retro thing. And one of the big games that happened to show up on the website one day was Dracula X. And as a early Christmas present to myself, I thought, you know what, between employee discount and the CAG 16 coupons, which were stackable and all that, I got the game down from 100, and with tax it would have been like almost $200. I got it down to about 140. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and take the plunge on this because, again, the one good thing about buying retro games at GameStop, the 30-day guarantee still applies. So I bought it, and what I got was a super fake copy of Dracula X. It was actually a totally different board in the casing. It was Super Action Football, or whatever that game's called. And the damn cartridge wasn't even screwed closed. That was the most ridiculous part about it. And and not to rant on GameStop's retro division very heavily here, but I just can't believe personally that specific game went through 3 sets of hands, 3 sets of eyes, looked at this thing before it hit the damn shelf, before it was able to get into my hands. And they're really dropping the ball right now on their retro stuff, and it's one of the reasons why, at least at the location I worked at, we just started deciding to just sell this stuff in the store and not send it back, because A, it makes that location money, and B, we know what we're doing, at least at the location I worked at. When it comes to this retro stuff, I know how to tell a fake from a real.
You know, apparently the 3 sets of eyes at the warehouse don't know shit about checking for fakes. So that's my little rant about that. I don't think GameStop Retro is the worst thing in the world. Like I said, they at least have a, you know, money back guarantee if the game's jacked or something. So it's pretty risk free, you know, and you'll see a lot of other YouTubers out there throw a fit about when they buy stuff from GameStop Retro and how it's a big pain in the ass to get this stuff returned. It really is not. Like, you just walk in, explain your situation, you'll walk out with your money back. It's not really a huge deal. They're not going to screw you over. Now, if you wait past the 30-day return policy, that's a totally different story, but, you know, at that point, then what are you doing? So, but this is Dracula X. It works really, really well. This was just the first game I wanted to show you guys on here. Like I said, I'm not going to dive into everything here. So we have Chrono Trigger, we have Chuck Rock, Clay Fighter 2, Judgment Clay, Cool Spot, Donkey Kong Country 2 and 3, Doom. This is a really bad version of Doom. This is actually the first way I played Doom as a kid before I played it on a friend's PC. And let me tell you, going from the Super Nintendo to the PC was a huge jump. These are the couple. I have only a few fan-translated to English games on here. I have Dragon Quest 1 and 2, Dragon Quest 5, and Dragon Quest 6. Evo, Super Earth Defense Force, Earthworm Jim. Earthworm Jim 2, for some reason, did not want to copy over. I have Equinox, which is the sequel to Solstice. We'll go ahead and move to the next category. Final Fantasy Mystic Quest, Final Fantasy 2. Front Mission Gun Hazard, Ghoul Patrol. We're going to stop briefly here on Ghoul Patrol. Now, Ghoul Patrol is personally the crown jewel game of my collection that I would want to have. This would be like the big... This is my holy grail, so to say, in terms of games that I want to collect that I just don't have. I have only seen a physical North American copy of this game one time, and it was in box, and it was about $400 at a game convention. This is a pretty rare game. They didn't make a lot of copies of this. There are not a lot of copies of this game out in the wild, and I have to be honest, I don't like this game as much as Zombies Ate My Neighbors. I think Zombies Ate My Neighbors had a level of fluidity and just wonderful, wonderful control design that this game lacks. Now, it does add some interesting things like a slide ability and the ability to sprint, but for some reason they actually put the sprint button on the same button as the button to shoot, which I think is incredibly awful because you always have to shoot at least one time before you run. I mean, I'm still glad this game exists. I don't think it's a bad game or anything like that, but I think in comparison to what came before it, it is a little bit of a lackluster sequel in that regard. There's also no mini-map to show you where people are. You just have to kind of guess. And just, I don't know, for some reason this game hurts my thumb on the D-pad in comparison to Zombies Ate My Neighbors. So, but that's Ghoul Patrol. It runs really well on here. It looks pretty sharp. Goof Troop is the next one. Gradius 3, Harvest Moon, Indiana Jones Greatest Adventures, Joe and Mac 1, Joe and Mac 2, Kid, Clown, and Crazy Chase. Killer Instinct, Kirby's Dream Land 3, which I don't think came on here. I have to check that. Knights of the Round, Lagoon, Lemmings, Lemmings 2, Lost Vikings 2, Lost Vikings 1, Lufia and the Fortress of Doom, Lufia 2, Rise of the Sinestrials, Magic Sword, Mega Man 7, Mega Man X2, Mega Man X3, Mortal Kombat 1, Mortal Kombat 2, Mortal Kombat 3, Miss Pac-Man, NBA Jam Tournament Edition, Nosferatu. You can see the shrink wrap over that picture there. Sometimes the pictures aren't the greatest. Pack Attack, Pack in Time, Pac-Man 2, The New Adventures, Paladin's Quest, Phalanx, R-Type 3, that's a super hard to get Super Nintendo game now. Rocko's Modern Life, Spunky's Dangerous Day, Sailor Moon, Scooby-Doo Mystery, Shaq Fu, Sky Blazer, Smart Ball, Soul Blazer, Spider-Man and Venom Maximum Carnage, Spider-Man and the X-Men Arcade's Revenge, Super Adventure Island 2, Super Bomberman 2, Super Bonk's Adventure. I think it's just Super Bonk, but... let's see here. And then the final category here. Super Double Dragon, Super Mario All-Stars, Super R-Type, Super Smash TV, Super Star Wars, Super Empire Strikes Back, and Super Return of the Jedi. These are all three great classic games. Syndicate, Turtles in Times, Tetris, and Dr. Mario. Tetris 2, which I actually really despise. Tetris Attack, Tiny Toons Adventures, Buster Bust Loose, UN Squadron, Ultima. There's a couple Ultima games here, actually. Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3. This one's actually Venom and Spider-Man, Separation Anxiety, great sequel to Maximum Carnage. Yoshi's Cookie, 2 of the East games. And finally, my favorite Super Nintendo game of all time, Zombies Ate My Neighbors. We're going to go ahead here and end this video on trying one of the Super Star Wars games. I think we'll just do Return of the Jedi, honestly. These were 3 really, really good games. They're pretty hard and challenging, but I really enjoyed them as a kid. I thought I was over the moon to play some Star Wars games, and I thought these were really good, just really challenging games. Honestly, they're looking pretty good on here. This is actually the first time I've ever clicked this on here. I haven't actually tested this ROM, so I think everything's looking pretty good and crisp, though, if we're being honest. This is a great way to play Super Nintendo games. Oh, I forgot the first level is this. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. I don't even know what the controls are right now, so. I always pick a Luke because the lightsaber. I thought it was cool. This was like the first game where you could, whoop. Actually, I don't, could you put your lightsaber away? Maybe it was one of the other ones. One of them you could actually put the lightsaber away. This game was hard as hell. Hard as hell platformer. But I loved it to death as a kid. I played countless hours of all 3 of these games. In fact, if I'm honest, I only as a kid owned Empire and Return of the Jedi. I never actually owned Super Star Wars as a kid. I rented that one, and then I had a friend that lived down the street that had it, so I just kind of played his copy a lot. But I had the other 2. He only had this one. I'm probably dead. Oh no, I'm actually not dead. That's surprising. You can see why this game is hard as hell. You know, and don't ever let someone sit out there and tell you Dark Souls is a hard game. Come and play one of these. Like, holy shit, man, they're hard. We can look at one other game here. We'll actually test one other game that I haven't tested yet to see if it works. Let's try... I'm in a bullet hell mood. I want to try R-Type 3, actually, so we're going to go back. As you can see, this emulation works really well. This is a great way, especially if you're a fan of these games. You don't want to pull out your old Super Nintendo and hook it up. Maybe you don't have modded Super Nintendo, or you don't want to buy the Super NT, which just got announced, actually. Getting past that, emulation is a great way to go if you want to play classic games. I plan on using this thing a lot for upcoming streams and stuff. You know, I've already announced that I want to do Super Mario RPG. That's a game that I have not personally played in a long, long time. 20 years to be exact, so it's going to be like playing a new game at this point. So I don't remember much of it other than I really enjoyed that game, but I do plan on doing a lot more with the Super Nintendo Classic hacked, now that it's hacked, because that's exactly what I was waiting for here. So I'll be doing a lot more with it in terms of live streams, maybe some other videos and stuff on the channel as well, but that's going to be what I've done here for the Super Nintendo Classic. So as I said, this thing works really well. It's really easy to hack. I mean, a layman can do it. You don't have to know a whole lot about computers to do this. Just look up many of the great guides out there. There's a lot of great YouTube guides on how to do it if you don't exactly know how to, but it's really simple to do. It's really easy to get the ROMs too. Those aren't very challenging or hard to get. And it's just really worth your time, so I really enjoy it.
Anyways, guys, I'm glad you stopped by to see what's on my Super Nintendo Classic. This is the first, I'm calling this round 1. Down the road, I will probably do an update video when I add more things to it and update the catalog that I'm offering on my Super Nintendo Mini Classic, but this was just a video showcasing what I've done with the machine thus far. Anyways, I hope you liked this video. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to the channel, and as always, until next time.